Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland. I'm Nick Park, and this week, every day, I'm taking us through a different Bible passage where we're looking at how a particular Greek word and the way it relates to English words that we use today will open up the Bible a little bit more for us and give us a deeper understanding. As I say every day, I'm not a Greek scholar, but I am able to read Greek, and Greek is an amazing, rich and expressive language that can actually pack far more into a single word than any one English word can in translation. And today we're at Matthew chapter 3 and verse 12, which of course is where John the Baptist was standing up and preaching to the people, and there was a great revival when people went out to see him. Just before Jesus came to the Jordan to be baptized by John, in verse 12, John says this. He said, "His winnowing fork is in his hand." He's talking about Jesus coming. "His winnowing fork in his hand, and he will clear his threshing floor, gathering the wheat into his barn, and burning up the chaff with unquenchable fire." And that burning up the chaff with unquenchable fire is to de achuron katakause puri asbestoi. And that last word, asbestoi, is where we get an English word that some of you will recognise, and that's asbestos. Now, asbestos today, normally when we mention asbestos, we think of it in respect to the health problems it can cause in people's lungs and the damage it does. And if you've got an old building and you're renovating it and you discover asbestos in it, that's going to cost you money. To dispose of that thing properly is a huge, big deal. And so asbestos means it's unquenchable. It's an unquenchable fire that will never burn out, because that's the whole thing. Asbestos was used because it's a fire-resistant substance. I remember when I was at school, back then we didn't know about the health complications caused by asbestos, and we had these old boilers that were outside the school that were covered with asbestos. It was now all flaking off in bits, and we used to get that asbestos, and we used to get handfuls of it and put it in people's hair and shove it down their backs and everything else, which health-wise was an absolute nightmare what we were doing. But nobody knew any better back then. They just thought it was kids having a good time. But asbestos was used because it doesn't burn. It's you can subject it to great heat and fire, and it still does not burn. And this is the word that John the Baptist uses to speak about the unquenchable fire of God. This is, in some ways, I'd like to say this is an awesome message, but it's also an awful message. Not that I mean I'm presenting it particularly or worse than usual, but it's an awful message in that it's talking about an awesome subject in a sobering and in a way that should really cause us to just reflect seriously about what it's saying. Because the Bible does speak about God giving eternal rewards and eternal punishment. And I know we don't like to talk about hell today, and it's become fashionable for people not to mention hell. And I know there are those that would even tell us that no, hell doesn't exist, that it's just a temporary thing, that God wouldn't do that forever. But that word asbestos, that really that's what that word means. It means it doesn't matter how long you put it in the fire, it's still not going to burn. And that's the wrath of God. And that's why, the Bible says it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of an angry God. And we don't want that. And so I would really encourage you today not to be running around scared, because we want to live by grace and please God. And if we know we're saved by faith in Jesus Christ, then we know that we won't face the unquenchable fire. But it should be a motivation for us to reach the other people that we love with the gospel of Jesus Christ, because God is real and the gospel is real and hell is real. And on that note, I'm going to ask you to join us again tomorrow for another Take 5. Your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland.